Indiana football destroys UCLA at the Rose Bowl this weekend. How about that?
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into this, the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen each and every day. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy. Go to 5hourenergy.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your first order. Well, thank you so much for being here. Shout out to all of my everydayers, those of you here at Locked On Hoosiers. We're growing over here, man, by the day, and you are the reason for that. So thank you so much. Locked On Hoosiers is a free daily Indiana Hoosiers podcast, audio and video on YouTube for you Monday through Friday. Well, Indiana football went out and did it. Who said they were going to win? Who predicted that they were going to win this game? I also said to the Big Ten squad that we were going to win by double digits. But I did not know that we were going to go out and get the biggest road win in the Big Ten for Indiana football since 2001. How about that? Indiana football defeats UCLA on the road 42-13. And there's so much to break down here, so much to get to. And man, isn't it exciting? Football is fun again in September. Yeah, there's recruiting things that we're going to get to later today and throughout the rest of this week. But man, we've got to break all this down because Indiana went out on a business trip, right? Curt Cignetti told us that, a business trip this week. And Indiana takes care of business. 42-13 final score. Curtis Rourke threw for 4 touchdowns. Defense was all over the place. It was really just a combination win for this Indiana team. And there's so many places that you could start here. But I want to start with the fact that Indiana said they were going to do this, and then they went out and they did it, right? Indiana and Curt Cignetti, they talked all week long about going out on the road, Rose Bowl or parking lot, doesn't matter, right? And that they were going to go out and handle business. It was about execution. It was about playing well. It was about playing together. It was about working as one unit offensively, defensively, and in special teams. And was it a perfect game? No, but it was pretty close for this Indiana team. I mean, you start breaking down some of the stats here, and it was a really, really good game. Curtis Rourke, 25 of 33, 4 touchdowns, 300 yards. Again, this is all on the road. Okay, this is not here in Bloomington. This is not neutral site. This was on the road at the Rose Bowl. Running the ball, it was phenomenal, okay? We had 123 yards. Yes, it wasn't crazy total, but it's exactly what you wanted to see. It was enough. And it's nice to see that this Indiana team has the ability to throw it around the yard a little bit and is willing to do that, right? They're willing to do that. Yes, they'll use the run to set things up this season, and they did that on Saturday night at UCLA. But we can run the football, and we ain't afraid to pass the football, and you better be ready for that. Okay, had an interception on defense. They were just going absolutely crazy. Was this defense gave up just the 1 touchdown. 1 in the second quarter. After that, it was 2 field goals, 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, a shutout in the first quarter. I don't know who I'm more proud of. I think I'm more proud of the offense because they went in and put up 42 points on the road. Now, let me say this. We knew going into this that UCLA was not a great football team. We knew they may not even be all that good, but that wasn't the point. I told you on Friday, my everydayers, you know this, right? I told you this is not about UCLA. This has nothing to do with that, right? We talked to Locked On UCLA last week, and I said it has nothing to do with them. Has everything to do with us. This was a game about Indiana. I told the Big Ten squad that. It was about us. And we went in and handled business and did what we needed to do. Not only did we win this game, not only did we move to 3-0 on the season, 1-0 in Big Ten play, we got better as a football team on Saturday night. And if you can do that while winning a game in this conference, you're doing something right. And shout out to Curt Cignetti and this entire staff, this entire team, this entire program for doing that. And it's not easy. Look, UCLA, they're not going to be a good team this year, but that's not the point. We went out and did what we were supposed to do because guess what? Former staffs, former teams from Indiana, they don't win this game. They don't win this game. They would have hung around. They would have let it be close, and then they would have done something stupid at the end, and they would have let UCLA win. Or they would have let UCLA throw it all over the yard, and you could tell that that offense just isn't all that good. Old teams wouldn't have won this game, but we did. We won it. Cignetti won it. This team did it. And I think this could be a sign of things to come this season because you look ahead for Indiana, right? We've got Charlotte this week. Everybody needs to be at Memorial Stadium. I don't care that it's Charlotte. Show up. They've earned it. They deserve your presence, your support. Okay, they do. Because you have Charlotte, you take care of business, you're 4-0 there. And all of a sudden, here comes Maryland. Here comes Maryland to Indiana for a chance to go 5-0 and 2-0 in the Big Ten. That's a really big accomplishment for this team. We're already getting bowl game predictions. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but all I know is that Indiana did what they needed to do. Nobody predicted them to beat them 42-13. A lot of people started jumping on Indiana late. We were favored on the road, and I guess there was a reason for it. How about that, huh? How about Indiana going on the road, taking down UCLA, 3-0 this season, 1-0 in the Big Ten. And I don't know if you've looked at the updated conference standings. I don't know if you just happened to take a peek. Indiana's sitting at the top, just saying we can end the season now. That's cool. We can, look, call it quits, call it done, put us in the playoff. It's fine. No reason to play any more games. Michigan State, you can come with us too. You're 3-0, 1-0 in Big Ten play. Shout out to Michigan State, by the way. Who saw that coming? Not me. How about that? We have some more results around the Big Ten. What in the world's going on around this conference? Indiana handled business. Who else did? We'll have that for you coming up next on Locked on Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked on Hoosiers is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. If you're watching sports or just trying to get in the zone, right, you need something, you need a little bit of a boost, if you will. You need something to kind of get you over that wall, if you will. So you can grab a 5 Hour Energy shot to stay alert to watch all of your favorite games. Or if you stayed up too late last night, maybe a little Sunday night football, something like that, you can see, you stayed up too late to see that crazy game. You can take a 5 Hour Energy shot in the morning so you can start your day. I keep them at work. I literally keep them in my desk at work. Just the little shots, right? That's what I use in the mornings, especially on a Monday. Oh my goodness, I have to take one. But they also have the 5 Hour Energy drink, so you can use those too. If you need a little bit more of a boost or you want something to sip on throughout the morning, you can get one of the energy drinks as well. And 5 Hour Energy has that and the little energy shots. And those shots give you the feeling of alertness and energy you need to get in the zone. With zero sugar and a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5 Hour Energy website has flavors galore: watermelon, tropical burst, grape berry, and more. There's a flavor for everyone, so try them all today. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5 Hour Energy product today, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer, is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. Welcome back to Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you so much for being here. Your support really does mean the world to me. I appreciate it. I see you, I hear you, and as always, I really do appreciate you. If you're enjoying Locked On Hoosiers, a reminder, this is a free podcast to you every day, talking about Indiana Hoosiers football, basketball, any other sport we need to cover, Big Ten stuff as well. You can subscribe right here, and this will go to your inbox every single day for free, okay? So if you're looking for a way to support this show, audio, if you're on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, however you get it, okay, you can follow us on there, turn on notifications, do what you got to do. That way you never miss an episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Those of you on the video side on YouTube, I appreciate you as well. You can like this video. All right, that's step number one. Step number two, comment down below on YouTube. Your thoughts on Indiana defeating UCLA over the weekend. Did you expect it? Who are you more proud of, offense or defense? Which one impressed you more, 42 points or 13 points defensively? You tell me down in the YouTube comments. And then the best way to help us out is to subscribe to the show. That's how you become an everydayer, all right? You do that, hit the Locked On Hoosiers logo, hit subscribe. It's 2 buttons, and you'll be notified every single time we post a new episode on YouTube, okay? So do that for me here on the Locked On Hoosiers YouTube channel. Well, Indiana did what they were supposed to do. We won our game this weekend in college football, but what else happened around the Big Ten landscape and kind of how it all plays into what Indiana is going to be doing moving forward in the Big Ten Conference? I'll say this, okay? I'll say this, and I've made this statement before. The Big Ten's going to be fine. We're going to be okay, but we've got some teams in here that have got to figure some things out. Let's start with what was supposed to be one of the best games of the weekend in Wisconsin. And we have basketball stuff coming up, so keep that in mind, okay? Let's start with Wisconsin, who I think was going to have a chance in this football game. I picked Alabama to win, yes. But when you knock out their starting quarterback in the first drive of the game, it's giving Texas vibes here. Yeah, Alabama was going to roll in this game at that point, and that's exactly what they did. So I hate it for Wisconsin, man. I hate it for Van Dyke. That sucks. There's no other way to say it. That's terrible to see, and I hope that he is okay. I hope he gets it worked out. Alabama rolls. Oregon gets back on track. They take down Oregon State. Is Oregon back? I don't know. I guess we'll have to talk to Spencer this week and see how it's going over on Locked On Ducks. Michigan struggled with Arkansas State, man. Michigan's they're not a good football team. I'm sorry, they're not. They're an 8-4 team at best. That's just a fact. They're an 8-4 football team. And I want to remind you, Hoosier fans, I want to remind you at who comes to Memorial Stadium later on this season. Right before we go to Columbus, we don't want to talk about that one. But right before that game, the Michigan Wolverines come right here to Bloomington. Is that a game that we could take? Is that a game that we may not be favored in, but could possibly take and win one that we're not supposed to? Keep that one in mind, okay? That game coming up later this year. Can I tell you and remind you that I said Purdue's not a good football team? Purdue's not a good football team. Did you see them on Saturday? I tried to tell people that this was going to be a blowout. I don't know why people were picking Purdue. Half the College Game Day crew picked them. A couple of people on the Big Ten Squad episode picked them. I don't get it. I said Purdue is terrible. They're terrible. Now, did I think Notre Dame was going to hang 66 on them? No, I didn't. But I wasn't surprised to see that they won and see that they won by multiple scores. And so, look, shout out Notre Dame. Credit to the Fighting Irish, man. They claim their spot as the second best team in the state of Indiana. I'm proud of them. I am. I'm proud of Notre Dame for claiming spot number 2. Purdue, you're clearly not even in the top 2 by any means. So congrats to those 2 teams for duking it out, and Notre Dame exposing Purdue and showing why they're not any good. Nebraska takes care of Northern Iowa. Illinois takes care of Central Michigan. Michigan State, 3-0, man. Shout out to them. 3-0. Minnesota does their thing against Nevada. It was kind of a boring week in the Big Ten, was it not? Washington crumbles, falls apart against Washington State, not representing the Big Ten very well. Iowa beats Troy. Of course, we beat UCLA. Northwestern takes down Eastern Illinois. And then Maryland goes on the road and beats Virginia. And that's a Maryland team, I want you to remember, That's a Maryland team that comes to Indiana next week. And you know what their one loss was? It was to that Michigan State team 2 weeks ago in week 2 of the season. I guess last week, technically, in week 2 of the college football season. Nobody had Michigan State winning that game, but it was 27-24. And in case you didn't watch it, it was gross. It was disgusting. So I don't think Maryland's all that good of a football team either. I say all of that to say this. They're going to win this week, Maryland is. They play Villanova, who most people don't even know have a football program. So we play Charlotte, so no difference there. So both teams next week should be coming off a win this weekend, right? Maryland and Indiana. But you start looking through this schedule, Maryland, I just don't think they're all that great. I think it'll be a tough game, but I think it's a winnable game. Northwestern, come on. And I don't care that it's at Northwestern. Give me a break. Then you have Nebraska, who, as long as they take care of business, let's pull their schedule up here really quickly. They're here in 3 weeks. They play Illinois this weekend. That's a top 25 game on Friday night, by the way. Keep that in mind. At Purdue and then home for Rutgers. If they win this weekend, there's a good chance they will be undefeated and a top 25 team when they come to Bloomington. Can you imagine what that atmosphere could be like if we show up and support this program? Could you imagine what that could be if Indiana beats Charlotte, beats Maryland, and beats Northwestern? We've already claimed a bowl game, and then we're on our way to try and take down our first top 25 team this season, first time in a long time. That would be incredible to have at Memorial Stadium in Bloomington, Indiana. What an opportunity that would be. You've got to handle business between now and then. I'm by no means writing off all the other games and saying we're just going to win by 1 million combined points because we're not at that place yet. But there's opportunities on this schedule. Washington, very gettable this year. I still think they're a good team. But you saw them against Washington State. They didn't look good at all. And that was a game not technically at home for Washington, but it was in Seattle. So come on. Michigan State, maybe they're better than we thought. And that is at Michigan State. So you got to keep that one in mind. Reminder that Michigan team comes here. You do have to go to Ohio State. I know that's a tough game, but then you have Purdue here at home. This is a gettable schedule. Right now, as it stands 3 weeks in, it's a very gettable schedule for Indiana football, which I think is the spot you want to be in. But by no means do I expect Curt Cignetti or anybody on this staff or anybody on this team to look ahead and be focused on, oh, we could go 8-4. We could go 9-3. We can, no, absolutely not. I don't expect any of that. I expect this team to stay focused. Now it's Charlotte. They will focus on this team. They will beat this team, and they'll move on to the next week. And they'll worry about getting better each and every single week. That's the Curt Cignetti difference. Just 3 weeks in. Can you see it? Can you feel it? Because I can. And that's what we need to know. That's what we need to see. People are asking, how about that? How about that? That is what we're talking about as Curt Cignetti and this staff. You can see it on the field. You can feel it in the building and the program. And I hope that we continue to support this team, including the Charlotte game this weekend. Well, coming up in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, some basketball recruiting updates. Very, very important things we need to talk about that happened from this weekend and things that are upcoming this week and this coming weekend. Final segment coming up on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel. That's because it's America's #1 sports book. Well, we have something a little different for you. As of right now, through September 22nd, so through this week, all FanDuel customers can bet $5. That's just $5 and get a 3 free week trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. So if you live here in Indiana and you're a Seattle Seahawks fan, or you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, if they're not on TV, or if you're if you're a Miami Dolphins fan, the NFL Sunday Ticket allows you to watch all of their games And FanDuel is going to give you a 3-week free trial of that just by betting $5 in the app, okay? So go use your Google account. Make sure you sign up for a YouTube TV-based plan. Then go to FanDuel.com and bet $5, and they're going to give you an NFL Sunday Ticket free trial, okay? That's FanDuel.com right now to download America's #1 sportsbook. Final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you again for being here. Time for a little bit of basketball, okay? And speaking of basketball, if you're looking for your second watch or second listen each and every day, go check out Isaac and Andy, okay? They do our Locked On College Basketball show, which is a really, really fascinating show that those two guys do 5 days a week. Just like this show, except they're focused on the entire landscape of college basketball. And it's really, really fascinating. We have Isaac and Andy on periodically here on this show, and would love it and going to work with them to try to have them on more throughout basketball season this year. But go check them out. So as soon as you're done here, just type in on YouTube, Locked On College Basketball, or if you're on audio, type it in, Locked On College Basketball. And you can go and check them out. Fascinating stuff. All the recruiting we have going on right now, they're covering it for every single team. So if you're looking for some more updates, on UConn or North Carolina or Kansas or Duke, go check them out, okay? Locked On College Basketball. Put in their YouTube comments that Jacob from Locked On Hoosier sent you over there, okay? Well, speaking of basketball, lots to get to in this final segment. And we'll cover a lot more of this as the week goes on because we're approaching a huge weekend. I would say the biggest recruiting weekend that Indiana has in this time period, in this period of recruiting. This coming weekend is crucial, okay? Braylon Mullins, Trent Sisley, Eric Reeby. All three guys will be here this upcoming weekend for September 20th. We'll get to that as we go. But we've got updates from this past weekend. Michael Brown was here. Jalen Haralson has some news. Braylon Mullins has some news as well. It's getting dicey out there, okay? Michael Brown had his visit this weekend. Still looking for some updates on how everything went with that from him, from one of the best point guards in the country. We'll get you some more information on that as we go throughout this week. But the news I want to focus on today is the fact that Jalen Haralson, not only did he move his visit up for Purdue, he canceled 2 more visits. He canceled 2. Remember, he was just here, right? Jalen Haralson was just here in Indiana. He canceled 2 of his visits. He canceled a Missouri visit and his Kansas visit, and then he moved up Purdue. And the reason for all of this, the reason you start canceling visits and moving things up and around, he's about ready. He's about ready to decide. And he's going to take that Purdue visit, and then he's going to make his decision. He's going to make his choice. And you get down to this point in time, and you start to stress a little bit. You start to worry. You start to think, okay, is he going to come here? Could he go somewhere else? Are we going to miss out on this kid? And it's still up in the air right now. But Indiana's right there. I'm telling you, we are right there at it. And depending on how the Purdue visit goes, I think that'll give us a really good judging point of where this is going to go. But it's a good sign, okay? It's a good sign that he's not taking a visit to Kansas. He's not going to go to Missouri. We don't have to compete with them anymore. They're not in it. That's basically what that tells you. It's like, all right, I'm not interested anymore. But thanks for trying. Thanks for playing. Appreciate it. He's going to go visit Purdue. And guess what? He's probably going to have a good time. Purdue's a good program. It's a good school. They have a lot going on over there. But we're still in it. So don't stress about that, okay? Indiana is still in it with Jalen Haralson. There are also some updates on Braylon Mullins, who reportedly has mutually decided with Duke. They're good. We're good. This ain't happening, is what the Mullins family told Duke this weekend. So Duke is out on the Braylon Mullins situation too, which I still believe, okay? I still believe that Indiana's a top 3 team for Braylon Mullins. I still believe that. Is this one going to come down to the end? You better believe it. You better believe it. UConn and Kentucky are fighting hard for Braylon Mullins, and rightfully so. He could become the best shooter in the 2025 class. Could become one of the best shooters Indiana's ever had, okay? He is a really, really good player. And this saga, if you will, seems to just continue to take turns left and right. But the fact of the matter is, another big player, the Duke Blue Devils, are reportedly out of the Braylon Mullins recruitment. And I still think it's down to 3. I still think Indiana's in that top 3, and we're in a really good spot for him coming this weekend. It couldn't happen at a better time. I think it's the best way to say this. Could not happen at a better time for Indiana basketball to get Braylon Mullins on campus. He's here with Trent Sisley this weekend, who's being recruited extremely hard by Purdue, and then Eric Reeby, who I think the Hoosiers are really good on right now. They're also talking to Nate Ament, so keep that in mind as well. Trying to hedge their bet a little bit, I think we are. If the Reeby situation doesn't work out, Ament's a really good basketball player. I mean, he's a really, really good basketball player. Would we take both? Yeah. I mean, yeah, but that's probably not going to happen. So don't get your hopes up on that. But just so many things to get through before this upcoming weekend. And it's just, I don't know. There's so many things and there's so many ways to feel, and you could be stressed. You could be excited. You could be nervous. You could be optimistic, if you will. But I'm telling you, as we wrap up here today, I'm telling you, we're going to get some. We are going to land some of these players. I know we've seen this story before. We know where this plane is headed, right? We've seen the path, and we know how this plays out. But I'm telling you to hold on. I'm telling you to believe, because this staff is going to figure it out. They're going to pull it off, and they're going to get some people. Not just one. I think they get multiple. They're not going to swing and miss. And if we do, mark my words, we're in trouble. Mark my words right now. If we don't get anybody, or even if we just get one, I think we're in trouble, because high school recruiting is still where it's at. High school recruiting is how you build a program. Transfer portal players can help you year in and year out, or I guess one-off situations. High school players help you year in and year out. And that's what Indiana's trying to do. They're trying to get some of the best players in the country from the state of Indiana and from around the United States. It's going to happen. But this coming weekend, is one of the biggest recruiting weekends in the history of Indiana basketball. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you again for being here. I appreciate you. Be sure, if you're not an everydayer, to become one, okay? Like the video on YouTube. Comment down below your thoughts on Indiana recruiting as it stands right now. Who's going to become an Indiana Hoosier in your mind? Let me know in the YouTube comments. And then to become an everydayer, hit on the Locked On Hoosiers logo and subscribe to the channel, okay? It's the best way to do it. You'll be notified each and every time we post this free episode of Locked On Hoosiers. My audio listeners, be sure you do the same thing on your side of it as well. We're back tomorrow, Hoosier fans, with another episode. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.